Hello, this is a recap of a science fiction movie called The Titan. Please don't forget to subscribe. Let's begin. The premise of the movie is based in 2048. Several cars drive along the Atlantic Ocean to the NATO operation base. One of the cars stops in front of a mansion. A woman shows a family of three inside the mansion, which is now their new home. The father, Rick Jensen, his wife, Dr. Abigail Jensen, and his son, Lucas, are surprised, clearly not used to the lavishness of the place. But three stand in front of their private swimming pool when Lucas asks Rick where he is going. Rick shows him a direction toward the sky. The camera spins out showing similar houses in the neighborhood, suggesting that the people who come in the other cars were given similar houses. The next morning, Professor Martin Collingwood visits the family. The couple is happy to see him. Rick thanks the professor to select on him for the mission, but the professor instead reminds him of the risk involved in the missions. The professor says he is grateful for their service and leaves. Cut to a NATO conference, the professor speaks in front of a group. In the year 2048, the Earth's natural resources have been used to their pieces. People began to fight for whatever remains of the resources, and wars between the countries are prevalent. He predicts that in 10 years, half of the planet will be inhabitable, and in 15 years, half of the world's current population will starve to death. Human beings' time is running out because they have outgrown their homes. The professor claims that their children will witness the end of the world. However, amidst all this, he claims that there is hope. The hope being the largest moon of Saturn named Titan, the only other body beside Earth in the solar system that has an atmosphere, making it the most inhabitable body in the solar system besides Earth. There is no way ready to be inhabited by humans. As the liquid methane runs on the heavenly body, the atmosphere is filled with nitrogen and the temperature is extremely low. The professor claims space science says that the Titans can't be livable for humans, but he has a different approach. He wants to use a modern genetic to make people adapt to the nature of the planet, rather than trying to make the planet inhabitable for humans. So Rick and 13 others in the team have been called to be experimented upon to make them adapt to the environment of Titan. He claims with little enhancement in their body, they will be able to breathe nitrogen in its air and survive the cold of Titan. Everyone there knows of the risk of the experiment, but they are willing to put their lives in danger for the future generation. Their main aim is to be able to establish Titan as a human's new home planet. The group has been chosen from 5,000 people in 16 different countries for this specific task because of their ability to survive. One person at the convention urged that the process is forced evolution and none of them will survive in the end, but the other claim they know of the risks. After the convention, the group is given their respective key cards and taken to a lab. The experiment's helper, Dr. Freya Upton, gives Rick a shot and informs him that he will be getting over 300 shots in the next week. The shots are to train them to burn nitrogen instead of oxygen for energy, because the level of oxygen in Titan is only 5%, which is less than Earth's 20%. Cut to their mentions, all 14 of the volunteers and their families have been given the lavish home next to each other. So Abigail invites everyone for a barbecue weekend. They all dance, eat, and drink together. This is the last time they will be allowed to drink alcohol, so they enjoy it. Abigail is drunk after the party, so Rick helps her get to the room, but before they can, he begins to code aggressively. Abigail helps him and sees him is burning with fever. She gives him some medicine and puts him in bed. In the next experiment, the volunteers are made to sit underwater for as long as they can. The last one inside are Rick and a girl named Tally. The two have been underwater for 31 minutes. Everyone outside is happy and surprised that the experiment have worked. Tally starts suffocation and goes to the surface in 39 minutes, but Rick still stays inside. His vitals seems to be dropping, so everyone gets worried. However, Rick starts swimming across the pool at a great speed, showing his progress. Everyone cheers and claps for him. He has been underwater for 42 minutes. At night, Rick tells his son Lucas about Titan's condition as a bedtime story. The kid is thrilled to know that his father will be able to live in another planet soon. Rick then joins his wife in the swimming pool, where she notices the nerves in his back being prominent. She labels it as side effects of the the shots he has been given, but is worried for him. As time goes by, Abigail and Ryan, the wife of another volunteer, becomes friends. Ryan tells her that she didn't want her husband to come here, but he doesn't listen to anything she says. Rick goes through a surgery that day. Abigail, being a doctor, reads the books they were given that has all the procedure Rick has to go through. She sees that all of them are safe, so she is relieved. At night, she wakes up and notices that Rick is missing from their bed. She goes to the kitchen and sees him applying ice on his body. He says he was burning in their bed. Abigail brings out a bucket of ice and Rick puts his hand on there. He asks his wife to do the same, but she brings her hands out, not bearing the cold. Rick then claims that he can't feel any cold. He has adapted to live in Titan's cold temperature. In one experiment, the group is made to swim underwater as the place is filled with methane gas as it would be in Titan. Next, they are made to run around the field for as long as they can. While breathing methane and nitrogen, they do the same exercise for several days. The group is in the changing room when Rick notices a lot of his hair falling. Tally tries to see if it is true and he gets a lump of hair out of his head. Just then, one of the female volunteers vomits out blood and falls on the ground struggling. The other tries to help her and calls the officials. Dr. Freya tries to help her, but she dies on the ground before she can do anything. The group is shocked as the harsh reality of the experiment is starting to show. That night, everyone gathers at Rick's home again and discusses the matter. Abigail notices all the volunteer nerves being permanent for some seconds and then disappearing, although no one else seems to notice. Ryan and her husband are outside in the pool. Her husband has been panicking because of the death. As the others talk, he hits Ryan in her face and loses control. The others go to help the girl and restrain the man. His brain has not been handling the experiment well. The following day, Dr. Freya comes over to test his vitals. She claims that the girl who died has kidney stones which altered the experiment, causing her to die. At night, Rick can't stop vomiting blood. Abigail takes a sample of it to investigate it herself. While shutting the door, she sees a light blinking from the walls and realizes that they are being watched. Rick in the swimming pool when his skin starts to peel off and float. Later, when they sleep, Abigail sees Rick's back has peeled too. Abigail takes the sample to the lab the next morning and sees that it has several compounds that the book didn't talk about. The lab performs eye surgery in Rick that day. It is allow him to see through the darkness. He goes home after the surgery but has to be rushed back to the hospital when his eyes start to bleed uncontrollably. Abigail meets the professor and accuses him of not telling them everything about the procedure. She confronts him about the camera that he claims are for security reasons. He dismisses her and sends her home. As soon as she is home, she sees large army vans arrive at Rainey's home. She races to see what's happening, but a soldier stops her. Just then, someone throws Ryan out of the window. Her dead body is lying on the front porch. Ryan's husband has gone completely wild because of the experiment. One night, Abigail takes Rick's keys card and sneaks into the facility. She finds a volunteer's medical file and sees that the girl who died didn't have kidney stones. The professor and the team are in a meeting with NASA. The professor is cast for doing forced evolutionary experimentation without proper evidence or ethical reason. He is threatened with having his operation shut down. When the professor comes to visit Rick at his home, he tells Abigail that he does not actually know the effects of the experiment yet, but they can't go back now. The subjects will be turned into a new species of human called the Homo Titans and will be different from Homo sapiens. But since everybody evolves in a different way, they do not know what Rick will turn to after the full experiment. Later, Rick opens a bandage from his eyes and sees surprised to see everything around, even in the dark. His eyes have evolved. The following day, they perform a vital surgery on the subjects, but all of them die except for Rick and Tally. Now the future of humanity lies on the two. Abigail is brought to the facility after the surgery and is surprised to see her husband turn into a different creature altogether, but it is evident that he still remembers them. They have turned completely into Homo Titans. They can listen to the human tokens but can't talk back because they communication in a low frequency that is undetectable by normal humans' ears. Rick comes home that night and accidentally hits Abigail. He is later swimming when a loud sob is hearing outside. Tally has come to visit him. With her, several guards also approach some house. It turns out that she has killed her husband. The soldiers sedate Tally and try to take Rick too, but he easily kills them all with his newfound power. He only stops when Abigail asks him to. The officials then take him to the facility and keep him in a glass cell. Rick is now ready to be sent to Titan, but his emotional attachment with Abigail and Lucas stops him from proceeding. So the professor asks Abigail to inject him with a compound to erase his memories. Abigail obliges and gives him the shot. Rick shakes his head, suggesting that he doesn't want to forget her. Abigail comes out of the cell, takes Lucas and Dr. Freya and runs away. It turns out she gives him a different compound to help him escape. Rick pretends to be unconscious and kills a soldier. The others are alerted, but his evolved abilities help him escape easily. Rick meets his wife and son in one of the labs, but is quickly surrounded by soldiers. The professor explains to Abigail that Rick's evolution is irreversible and he can go back to being human now. His only way to survive is to go to Titan, seeing that he has completely lost her old husband. Abigail finally agrees to let him go away for the sake of humanity and its survival. In the next scene, we see them in an airplane. Rick lies in a body bag and is being taken to be sent to Titan. Cut to a few months later, the professor has been arrested for using unethical methods. Abigail and Freya have taken over the Titan II facility. Lucas calls his mother outside to make her look at the clear night sky. Somewhere far away in a galaxy, we see Rick standing on the mountain of Titan. He is fully adapted to his environment. He spreads his webbed arms and flies in the sky.